All right, ready?
Yep.
Recording on 1, 2, 3. 1.
2. God, give me a second. I forgot to put my headphone in.
Goddamn motherfucker. I'm gonna have to start wearing clothes.
I also had to grab my beer comb.
Yeah.
Got out of the shower. This is some real ASMR shit right now. Oh yeah. Scratch the beard.
All right. Serious. Jeez. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Nerd to the Third. Today is, of course, movies. We're going to be talking about our movies of the year. So we're going to be doing it similar to the game of the year. So if you watched and or listened to our game of the year, we have different categories. We're going to give our nominations, and then we're going to have a discussion about what we think should win. So I am your host, Nick. Today here with me is...
haphazardly Nate.
Man, how's your day going?
Well, it would be better if my wife didn't get me fucking sick.
How dare you, wife?
I'm about to put this bitch in a bubble, I swear to God. Because she just got over a stomach bug like a week ago and then got bronchitis a week after.
Yeah.
Oh, crazy.
Oh, that poor thing. I swear.
Yeah, so I'm sucking on a
just a second. I forgot to start my timer. So at 2 minutes, we're going to start the timer.
It's a dick flavored lozenge.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we're going to get directly into this.
Took you a second there.
I was trying to anyway. All right, so our different categories: action, drama, comedy, animated / family, best sci-fi / fantasy, and best actor or actress. And then the last one is the most disappointing. I guess at the very end, I guess we'll discuss what we think is like the best of the year, because that's the only category we've kind of forgot to put down. But after everything, we'll discuss what we think is the best of the year. So starting off, we're gonna have the best action movie of the year, and the nominees are Avengers, Upgrade, Ready Player One, and honorable mention to Mission Impossible 6. Or it's 6, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's 6.
Anyways, it's an honorable mention because me and you haven't seen it. So we would love to give it, because I have not heard a bad thing about it. You?
No, and that's the thing with Mission Impossible movies, especially after 2. They've only kind of gotten better and better and better.
Yeah.
Especially because
it's like the reverse Fast and Furious.
Exactly. Because I think it's I think it's like, is it a well-stated fact that Fast 5 is the best in the series? Because I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah, pretty much.
But so
go ahead.
I think the reason that is going back to Mission Impossible is because partly the director and partly Tom Cruise doubling down on the fact of, hey, let's continue to push the envelope and just do crazy stuff. I mean, you go from Mission Impossible 3, which was a really great it actually was a really great drama. Oh God, what is his name? He passed away. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Fantastic villain.
Yes.
Oh my God. And then 4 is, I think, where we start with the modern Mission Impossible, because that's where you have the big Dubai climb, like the real life Tom Cruise is scaling the whatever it's called. I don't remember the building, but the tallest building in Dubai, actually scaling it. And then you go to 5, which 5 was a little questionable. I liked it, but it definitely wasn't my favorite. And I don't remember.
Wasn't 5. Which one was 5 again?
5 was 4 was Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation.
Right.
Rogue Nation.
Oh yeah, Rogue Nation. I could agree with it. Because that's the first time the one girl came in, isn't it?
Yeah, there wasn't really anything spectacular about it.
Yeah, it was still good, but I guess I guess at this late in the game, it's like being good isn't as good when you just expect so much out of it.
Well,
You know?
the best thing that I'll say is I'll have to go back and watch it because when I watched it was when it came out and I was at a
Mhm.
convention. I was at RTX in Austin, and a bunch of us who had been walking the show floor all day went to go see that at the Alamo, like at fucking 11 o'clock. So all of us were very very tired. But the sound design in Mission Impossible, as well as the speakers in the Alamo, made for a great combination. So we'd be dozing off, and anytime a gunshot went off, it was so pinpoint and precise that it woke us up. So we'd be like, what's going on?
What's going on?
But
That's kind of funny. So anyways, yeah, it's definitely an honorable mention because another reason or another thing about all the Mission Impossibles is I feel like it is the I don't want to say milestone. What am I trying to say? It is the threshold of what makes a good not only just action movie, but what makes a good espionage movie.
yeah,
And that used to be for years, obviously, that used to be 007. But ever since like Quantum of Solace, like I feel like they've just all been kind of there. And a lot of people like Skyfall, but in my opinion, it was just like it had a really good villain, but then a lot of everything else was just kind of, okay. And so I feel like Mission Impossible kind of took the crown as far as like best action and best espionage. And so being able to do that over and over again. And now this time around, like I said, haven't heard anything bad about it. Not only have I not heard anything bad about it, but has also heard that it's like one of the best action movies of all time. So we can't talk about best action movie of the year and not at least say, oh yeah, by the way, we know this exists. We just haven't personally seen it.
I remember the trailer I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about the trailer. The trailer for Mission Impossible 6 with the Friction song from Imagine Dragons was so good. And then okay, so here's the thing. I love Henry Cavill. Love Man of Steel, great Superman.
Yeah.
When they're in the bathroom and the music winds up and he does that thing where he like goes like that where he's about to I was like, dude, get fucked. Like someone is about to get wrecked. I was so hyped.
Oh yeah.
The problem was my wife hates Tom Cruise. So trying to get her to go see Mission Impossible is very, very difficult. I also want to preface you may be already, but I'll beat you to it. Before someone's like, how come you're not talking about this? This is in the movie. These are the movies that we've seen and the ones that we can talk about the most apt. So before someone goes to be like, oh, you can't do it, shut up.
Yeah, before you're like, oh, why didn't you include XYZ? That is these are our movies of the year, just like our game of the years were our game of the year. We can't comment on something we haven't seen and or played. So good point. Okay, so the nominees: Avengers, Upgrade, and Ready Player One, which a lot of people are probably going to be like, oh, Ready Player One shouldn't even be on there. It was such a big disappointment. It's like, yeah, maybe for you, but for me personally, I really thoroughly enjoyed Ready Player One.
So Ready Player One is one I've yet to see. But the reason for that is I think the advertising and marketing for this movie hindered it, at least for me. Every time I went to see a movie, every time I turned on my TV, I saw a commercial or a trailer for Ready Player One, the same trailer or same commercial over and over again.
I could see how that affects you. Yeah.
It just made me both my wife and I, we were like, we just don't really want to see this movie. We feel like we're seeing it all in the trailer. I still want to, but my interest for it, like, especially after it came out, even when it came out on Blu-ray, I'm just like, I'll get around to it at some point.
Yeah. For me, I mean, I really enjoy it, and I feel like it's probably really poignant right now because of like things like EA having the loot box controversy and just all the gaming controversies that we've had. It's really poignant because like one of the main, or not one of the, but the main crux of the entire movie is basically there's this big business guy who has taken over the game, and he basically wants to cover 80% of a person's screen with ads. And so the entire thing is that, oh, you find these 3 Easter eggs and you become the owner of
the game.
of the game. And so IOI is the company, and so they basically hire millions of, or maybe not millions, but like thousands of people to go and do these Easter eggs because they want control of everything so that they can cover up 80% of everybody's things. And in today's microtransactions, loot box controversy, like it actually fits so well, and it's for the most part, it's kind of timeless because it's like, this is a multi-trillion-dollar industry because like literally everybody in their dog pretty much play this VR game. And so for me, it was just a really good action movie, and the fantasy behind it, or the sci-fi behind it, was also really good. So
You said it better than I would.
well, yeah, because I fucking seen it.
Exactly.
So then Upgrade and Avengers, down to those two.
Okay, so I feel like just because of what it is, it would be weird if Avengers wasn't the top for action.
Yeah.
So my question for you, what makes Upgrade a better movie than Avengers Infinity War?
Well, I will be the devil's I'll be the devil's advocate right now because I would obviously choose Avengers. So let me pretend that I'm going to argue for Upgrade. Upgrade, the reason why it would be better than Avengers, number one, it's not a big media conglomerate, so it's not just the big guy. It is the the underdog, so to speak. And pause. What's up, kiddo? Okay, go ahead. I'll be right back.
That's fine. Fuck.
Hey, can you give me the controller? Hey, there you go, baby. Okay. So it's not a big media conglomerate. It is the underdog. It's the underdog. And in so many ways, it does really interesting things. The most interesting thing it does is like the way it works its camera. You know how like Guy Ritchie would do like zoom ins in a really cool way. It's something like that. I guess what it's called is like the steady cam.
Mm-hmm.
So it does something like that because the whole premise basically is he's paralyzed because of something that happens. I won't give it away. And so he gets a chip put in him. And so the chip allows him to walk. And then because he wants revenge, he lets the chip take over, and it helps him. It turns him into like a ninja. Basically, he can do all these like really cool things. That's the premise of it. That's obviously what's in the trailer. But what's so cool about it is all the fight scenes where the chip takes over, the way they move the camera is really cool and very like artistic in the way that, it's showing by the visual, style that he doesn't control it. It's instead controlling him. And so like the way the camera moves around is really, really cool. And so it takes this typical, I will admit that, typical like revenge thing because his wife dies, and so he's on a revenge path or whatever. It takes this typical story and just adds this really cool twist to it, because now it's in a sci-fi or something. And so it's just the way they do it, and the fact that it's this underdog, like I would almost vote for it for that reason, because it just does it in such an interesting way.
So, okay, have you seen any Star Trek or the first of the JJ trilogy?
I've seen all the JJ trilogy, and the older ones with wow, why did I just blank on his name?
Oh God! I know what it is.
Kirk. I'll just say Kirk,
okay,
because for some reason I am blanking.
William Shatner.
Thank you. Jeez. Yeah. Just like as soon as the mic goes on, it's just my brain apparently goes off sometimes, and I'm just like I get these moments anyways. So yeah, William Shatner. Of his, I have only seen some of them and only parts of them because like my dad watched them, but I definitely watched like the last William Shatner one, and not A Next Generation where they cross over, but like the last one, or so Voyage Home or something. I don't know. So I've seen almost pretty much all of them, so just not the William Shatner ones.
So the reason why I ask is, do you remember the science or the theory behind why they could space travel? They bring it up.
Because I'm not a nerd.
Well, so they bring it up in particular, like very specifically in the first Star Trek, the reboot movie.
Okay.
When he's talking to Scotty, and he's telling him, he's like, "No, you figured this out. You got to realize that everything, you're not moving fast. Everything around you is moving."
Isn't that Futurama?
No, Futurama. It's a Star Trek thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but Futurama, parodied on it. But what I'm getting at is, would you say that is a proper analogy for the camera work in that movie? The fact that the actor isn't moving, everything around him is, instead of the camera being this standing object.
Yes. I'd say, yeah, it's similar,
because that's the vibe I got.
Yeah, just from the trailer, yes, and it's just all the action scene, because obviously you see the one where he goes and he tears the guy's head off almost with the knife. Yeah, if you've seen the Red Band trailer.
Oh yeah,
but that's not the only action scene, obviously.
Right.
Multiple ones, and just the choreography that happens, and the discount Tom Hardy, the way he reacts to everything is just really cool.
He is the discount Tom Hardy. he was also in Homecoming too, because it took me a second. I was like, is Tom Hardy in this movie? And I was like, oh no, that's not Tom Hardy.
That'd be a weird crossover, since he ended up being
Venom. Yeah. Oh Jesus.
Oh my God. Yeah. So anyways, but yeah. And so then going on, the discount Tom Hardy guy, like he's actually like really good in this as well, as far as like, I believed his struggle, especially, oh my God, there's this one scene where he's paralyzed and he just starts crying, because it's like his wife is dead. He can't move. He's shitting in a fucking bag. And so like, he just breaks down and starts crying. And it's like, I felt it, and just from an actor's perspective, or from an acting standpoint, like I felt it. I felt his pain, and I felt, I just felt it, and that's definitely something to be pointed out, I guess.
Logan Marshall Green is definitely an up and coming. Like he does look a lot. He is discount Tom Hardy, but he's actually like really, like he was in that movie, The Invitation, that came out a few years ago, that kind of thriller one. He was the dude, long hair. He's also in Prometheus. But everything I've seen him in has been like, oh, this guy's got talent. It's not Tom Hardy, because Tom Hardy's got so raw and natural talent, but he's definitely
but he was also in Venom, so
you can't
you gotta break a couple of eggs.
The file rises. That's a conversation for another time. Which one's better? Well, no, that's not a conversation. Dark Knight Rises is way better than Venom.
All right, and then obviously we got the Avengers, which I mean we can probably
I feel like we really don't even need to talk about it. Avengers is one of the, if not the biggest movie that has come out in the last 10 years. It may be the biggest movie ever made. Well,
according to what it is, according to what it is, and what it is like Titanic might be big money wise, which obviously Avengers is arguably just as big money wise, but Titanic is just a one off. The fact that this was 9 years in the making and like 17 movies or 16.
I think
It's
it's
16 or 17 movies,
I think it's
and they
18 with Avengers.
all are building towards this one thing. And the one thing to point out that, everybody and their mom points out is just how good all the stories ended up feeling. I mean, even in Age of Ultron and the original Avengers, there were certain storylines that just like, okay, they gave this person screen time because they felt they needed to. That was not the case in this one. Nobody felt just shoved in. Nobody felt like they didn't have some type of purpose. Nobody might have, or some people might not have had like a story arc, obviously, but the entire story and the entire story arc just made sense. Like when Black Panther got put back into the mix, it didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel, you know, it didn't feel like out of place or anything. It's just like, oh, this is where it naturally would have happened. And I feel like that to have, 100 and some odd god amount of characters, and they all felt like they naturally were put in here, not just like, oh yeah, Rocket Raccoon, he's a character, so he needs to be in this movie. No,
Right.
everything felt so well put together. And to do that is absolutely no small feat. It's not it's just so well. Oh my God. I mean, that's what made it the best ever,
Right. And the fact that they're still diving in deep. I mean, we kind of heard all the rumors about what Avengers 4 might look like, but after watching Ant-Man and the Wasp, which it's funny because Infinity War was this, Ant-Man and the Wasp was like this. I mean, it was okay. But
Yeah.
where they go in the end of it is like, oh, okay, no, that actually is probably what happens. Like the almost confirmation of it, in the connection of everything. The thing with Avengers Infinity War to me is one of the things that I thought was great about it was, kind of funny. Leading up to like the beginning of the year, leading up to Infinity War, they decided as a group and for their fans, they were going to do they called it the MCU in review,
Right.
and watched a Marvel movie a week, reviewed it leading up to Infinity War. And so if you were a part of that, like I was, that was also a cool thing of you're a part of this conversation with a bunch of different people of, hey, where do you rank this one? Where do you rank that one? And so like that gave me a lot of interactivity with the movie. When I saw Infinity War, like first in the theaters, I was blown away. I saw it again though with my cousin. I like maybe 2 weeks after, and I kind of was like, I shouldn't have done that. I should have waited a little bit longer to see it again because it was just still so fresh. But seeing it again made me feel overwhelmed. Infinity War is one of those that maybe not now, maybe eventually. As of right now, it's one of those I can't sit down and watch over and over again like I can Civil War or Winter Soldier. But I still love it, and I definitely think it deserves to be, and which is why I'm going to say it's going to be our action movie of the year, just because it's unprecedented how much buildup was. Like I want to see a doc. I want to see a documentary so bad about the development team and Feige's team.
Right.
I want to see how far they actually planned out.
Right. Because there were definitely some things like Iron Man 3 is obviously a big thorn in the side. It's like, oh, I quit. No, never mind. I didn't quit. Like that, there was, and not just that, but there are definitely, but we're talking about the buildup, but obviously the payoff is also like the biggest thing. Cause there's so many people out there that's like, oh, like this Marvel movie just didn't feel like it had a, third act. And pause. What's up, baby? Okay, I'm doing something, so you need to go, okay? Okay, you go watch your show and we'll paint when I'm done, okay? Okay, go, sweetie. What was the last thing I said?
Third act.
Oh, and then here we have this, and this feels like the natural third act to an entire 17 movie run. And the fact that it started and did not stop until the very end is also, and I mean, it'd be one thing if it was just like event, which is what a lot of people say about like Zack Snyder movies, is that it's just one
Yeah.
event after another. Here's a scene rather than, I can't remember, or a moment rather than scenes. Whereas every scene just played out so good. And it's so obvious. So let's just move on because it's already been like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So action movie of the year, obviously Avengers. Drama of the, or I guess we'll mark it there. We're gonna swap back and forth. So drama is for you. So next category.
Next category is going to be drama. Our nominees are A Quiet Place, A Star Is Born, and The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Buster Scruggs. That's hard. It's hard.
So I have not seen A Star Is Born, so you need to talk about why that's on the list.
A Star Is Born fucked me up. Like beyond belief. But in like, I'm sorry, everybody. I'm going to bring you down for a minute. It fucked me up for a like more personal reason. So the movie itself was sad. My mother-in-law saw the original, so she kind of knew what was going to happen in the story. My wife and I didn't. The thing that got me the most is there are things in A Star Is Born between some of the characters that are kind of real to my real life. Like it's some situations that I lived that kind of make when I interact with things like that or re-experience I've had before, it kind of makes me shut down and it makes me not really want to experience. Yeah, I experienced the movie, but A Star Is Born, it was so good. But I look at it two different ways. It was so good, but it also hurt me a lot. So, it's one of those that Lady Gaga, outstanding performance. I've loved Lady Gaga, like the person she is since she came out. Like, of course I saw, the personality that she had, all the like weird outfits and shit. But anyone who's seen this, go watch her, documentary on Netflix, 5'2".
Yeah.
There's parallels in it that make you really appreciate the artist that she is. But what was cool about A Star Is Born is you can very much see that this possibly is could have been a story about how Lady Gaga got famous, because there are a lot of parallels that are very similar to it. But, when I hear Shallow on the radio, which is the song from the trailer, it like gives me chills. Like it makes me emotional because it was just like, it was such an experience that, the fact that Bradley Cooper directed this, the fact that, both of them, they sang in this. And then the best part about it is anytime Lady Gaga was either on stage or just singing, you knew she was singing. A parallel to that would be Bohemian Rhapsody. Rami Malek obviously wasn't singing. The voices. It
wasn't? I didn't.
No, the voice that came out of it, the voice that was coming out of his mouth. He may have had some parts, but the very specific ones were a concentrated mix of Freddie's actual voice, and there's a guy. His name's Mark Martel, who's Canadian, who looks and sounds very similar to Freddie Mercury. So Rami's voice playing Freddie Mercury was a mix of those, whereas Lady Gaga, she would just sing in the parking lot and you knew she was belting it. And it was like, there was no filter on this. And it's phenomenal. It really is. It's one of those gut punch movies for sure.
Okay. So then Quiet Place and Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I feel like those are the main contenders, other than like A Star Is Born, like just from what I've heard about it, obviously, like, but those are the big ones as far as like what we've both seen and what we can both talk on. Go ahead.
There's one that I want to give an honorable mention to.
Okay.
And I think it's Boy Erased. It's the Russell Crowe one.
Oh, okay.
I want to give an honorable mention because I'm not going to see it. That movie is going to completely tear me apart. But it looks like a...
Remind me, because I know it, but it's like, you got to remind me.
It's the one where Russell Crowe is like very fat that I've never seen him that size before, but
Okay.
he is a very religious like priest or pastor,
Okay.
and his son comes out to be gay, and they
Oh,
send
okay.
him to that gay rehab place.
That's right. Okay, yeah. See, I remember like it sounded so familiar, but it's like it's just enough off my radar because like I'll be honest, like I don't normally like dramas just because like I don't like being depressed. I am depressed enough in my life that I don't like being depressed when I go see a movie because, you know, obviously movies are meant as escapisms. So normally on a normal weekend, like I look at something, I'm like, oh, I've heard so many good things about this. 2 hours, I don't feel like crying for 2 hours, so nah, never mind.
Yeah, yeah, but
So
that definitely looks like one that would be a contender for best drama. But I'm just not gonna see it because it's gonna tear me
yeah,
apart.
right. So then yeah, Quiet Place and Ballad of Buster Scruggs, what would be your vote?
Uh,
And why?
between those two,
Yeah.
Buster Scruggs.
Yeah. Okay.
A
And
quiet
why?
play. A quiet play. Okay, I'll tell you. Okay,
I'll
let
tell
me.
you. You tell me.
Okay, so A Quiet Place was good. It was really really good, and but at the same time, it felt like a passion project.
Okay. Okay.
It didn't really feel like
And those deserve to make it on here, apparently.
they do, but I don't want to say that it wasn't a bad movie because it was a really really good movie, but it just felt kind of hollow a little bit. Like it was a great, like the way I look at it is, it was a great like first time. I can't wait to see what you do a second time.
Okay.
And the comparison I would give would be between that and Get Out. Get Out didn't need to be, oh, that was a great first time. I was like, no, that was a phenomenal first time. Like that, I want to see what you do next. Whereas A Quiet Place, I was like, that was good. I bet the second thing would be better.
Okay.
But I appreciate the artistic, kind of like how you said about Upgrade. I appreciate the artisticness of A Quiet Place. The fact that they play around with the daughter being deaf, so when they
Yes.
have her, the cameras, giving her point of view, you don't hear anything. And
Mhm.
any kind of film trick like that, I very much appreciate. Now, the Ballad of Buster Scruggs is a surprise of the year for me, sir,
Oh, okay.
because you were like, you gotta watch this movie. You gotta watch this movie.
Yep. I specifically gave you and Coach homework, basically saying that like we can't talk about movie of the year without you guys at least seeing this and seeing what I mean.
Yeah. So I think it was that night that when you sent that. So that night it was about, I think it was a Monday because I had the day off next day. It was like 9 o'clock, and I started it. And I got through the first two stories. So if you don't know what the Battle of Buster Scruggs is, it's basically an anthology movie, kind of like Black Mirror. So, you have a bunch of different stories that are told. I watched the first two. The first one is the one that is the most fantastical, and in all quiet honesty, was not my favorite. It was entertaining, but
Mhm.
I do think you're right. What you said before about how it definitely paints the rest of the movie in a different light. Like it hasn't. It is very strange. The second one with James Franco, I think, is the shortest one. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely the shortest, I think.
And like the
Other
pan
than the
guy.
very last one, I think.
The
Actually, now
pan
that I
guy
think
was
of it.
funny.
Okay, pan shot.
Patch shot. But and did you recognize who that was?
Yes.
It took me a second.
You have my stapler.
Yeah, so that was great. But just honestly, my favorite thing out of that is the meme that has come about. Have you seen this meme
No, I have not.
where it's
Oh yeah, the
the
first
EA thing?
time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's my favorite thing that's come out of that. So I watched the first two that night, and I was like, okay, that was interesting, and I stopped. I went to sleep. Next morning, the next one that was queued up was the Liam Neeson story, and so I'm watching it, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And the end of it happens. I'm like, oh God, okay. Well, what's next? And then the next one was the gold one. And I'm like, this is good. And I
Yeah.
went to go get breakfast, and I left the house to go get breakfast, and I called my dad, and I was like, hey, you need to watch this movie. I was
Mhm.
like, and growing up, I never watched Westerns, but the film enthusiast that I am, I feel
Mhm.
like I would really love Westerns. Something about this movie I could not stop watching.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was one of those that there wasn't anything in particular that was like that I can pick out. It's just I couldn't look away. And easily my favorite one is the what is Mr. Frank going to tell Billy Knapp, I think is what it was. The one with the Oregon Trail.
That's a long title.
Yeah, well, that's what one thing I really like about it is when they transition from story to story, it's someone actually opening
like
up a
flipping the
book.
pages.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then you see
I
like
do
the
like that too.
artistic drawing. But when I started that one, I was like, "What's this one going to be about?"
Mhm.
And then it completely like it. That one meant so much to me. That one was such a good story. Like it's just the way it was paced, and then you know, it was. I feel like that scene should be taught in a film class of like how to pace, how to set a scene 101.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was just very, very good. So out of those two, for sure, it's got to be Buster Scruggs because it's the most surprising. And again, we're going to circle back to it. It's Netflix. It's a Coen Brothers movie distributed by Netflix.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to. Okay, first off, Mark, we're 30 minutes in and only 2 categories. Like, I really hate to say it, but we do kind of have to speed it up just a little bit.
That's fine.
So let's just
those are the 2 that I needed to talk the most about.
No. I'm just saying in general because it's already 11:30, and so another hour would make it 12:30, which would be good, but at this pace, that's not how long it's gonna take us.
Right, I got you.
Okay. So mark it again. All right. So Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Well, I'll start with A Quiet Place because I feel like that's the one that's not going to win, obviously. A Quiet Place, what is just so good about them, and I have to disagree as far as like you thought it was a good first time. I thought it was good in general. I feel like what makes it better is the fact that it was his first time, comparable to Get Out, which was his first time, which funnily enough, both of those people are known for their comedic, acting. And so now them doing such serious roles really like makes it even bigger surprise in my eyes. Yeah. But not only that, but just the acting all around I thought was just so good. And it was really the world that they created, the world of here's this family who's isolated, and so it made sense because they had the deaf daughter. It made sense how they were able to survive because they kind of already were predetermined to pre-adjusted there you go, pre-adjusted to this life of sign language and stuff like that. So it made sense that they were able to survive as long as they can because they already kind of knew how to not talk, if that makes sense. But then not only that, because they were so isolated on their own like little, part of the woods, so to speak, they were kind of already
neck of the woods.
But yeah, since they were already doing their own thing out there anyways, it made sense that they could survive. And one thing that a lot of people try to put down about the movie is the whole sand. And there's several shots, like overhead shots and like things in the background where you can see a giant pile of sand. So it was like something that they just already had laying around that they then used, for their own good, basically.
Is that an issue with that? Is that a problem?
That's a huge thing that like not just CinemaSins, but people in general like, oh, how did he have so much time? Where did he get all this sand from? It's like they got it from their farm, and there's an establishing shot that shows that. And so like
it just made sense to me. It's not something I dived
exactly. It's some people can just be so goddamn analytical about certain things. It just really like pisses me off. And it's like for something like that. And then it's funny because I watch the CinemaSins and the CinemaWins of that, and it's like there are one thing that CinemaWins does is he likes to talk about certain things or certain plot points that people have with the movie, and he points out why they're not plot holes, because it's like you just got to pay attention to this and this. And so that's one thing that he really harps on is the sand and why it's not a plot hole, because here it is. But then there's a couple other things that they talk about. And anyways, just the way the story's set up. Now, Ballad of Buster Scruggs was mine that I was championing. And like I said, I gave you guys homework. I'm like, you guys have to at least see this so you know what I'm talking about. Let me put it this way. For one, I was like, this came out at the perfect time. Perfect fucking time, because Red Dead Redemption also came out around the same time. And so I'm like, everybody's in the Western mood, number one. Number two,
kind of made me want to go play Red Dead.
Right? I mean, I don't want to, because now there's a lot of economy issues. And
I was going to talk to you about that at some point. I saw that and I was like, oh, Nick is going to love this.
I know, right? I'm like, I'm so giddy because it's like, when I'm right, I'm right. Anyways, it came out in the perfect time, because it's like everybody's in the mood for a Western. And not only that, but it's the Coen brothers. So they've already done True Grit and they've already done No Country for Old Men, which are both, Western movies, even if one is more of a modern Western. Either way. So it's done by the Coen brothers. And so I have a friend, he loves Red Dead Redemption, and he just and so I'm like, okay, he would love this movie because he's so into the Western right now. He comes back to me the next day and he's like, yeah, I've watched this like 3 times. I cannot stop watching this fucking movie. And I'm like, well, you're welcome. Yeah. Like, I knew you would like it. And especially like just everything about it is really good. Now, the one thing that actually caught me off guard, because I rewatched the trailer later, but the trailer doesn't really say, oh, six stories. And, it doesn't necessarily talk about how these are different stories or whatever, or at least if it does, even I didn't catch it even on my rewatch of the trailer, because I'm like, did it say that it was 6 stories? Because I don't remember anything about it. And at first, because especially James Franco, especially James Franco's story, since it was so short, and I'm like, oh, is that all this is? It kind of almost. And then I was kind of the same reaction, where the third one was like, oh, damn. You know, like we can have an entire episode basically talking about everything I like about this movie. And, we do need to keep going. So all I'll say is that it is definitely a really good movie. And I think that you could definitely pick apart different parts of the movie, but as a whole, as a collection, I think is when it really shines. Because if you reviewed each one, you could definitely tear it apart and just be like, oh, I don't really like this. But as a whole, and as a collection of like Western stories, it's just so good. And the fact that they can have something set in the olden times, and it sounds like it's the olden times, and it sounds like, there's so many movies nowadays that come out and it's like, they wouldn't have said that because of XYZ. And so it's just so well done. And I believe it's timeless, because even like the Liam Neeson one, for instance, it's a very good allegory to like YouTube content creators and just Hollywood in general. And so it's timeless. And I think that's something that definitely needs to be said about it. So yeah, definitely. Drama of the year is The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I want to pick a hard sell for A Star Is Born, but because it's just the two of us and we're so high on Buster Scruggs, that's what I'm gonna give it to.
Yeah,
definitely. A Star Is Born needs love for sure, though.
I will agree to that, as far as what I've heard about it and everything, as far as the fact that it is Bradley Cooper's first directorial debut as well. Everything I've heard about it is good. But like I said before, I'm not super into the super depressing stuff.
Yeah.
And it just from the trailer, like, I don't know if it's just from the way you're talking makes it sound like there's a tragedy or whatever. But putting that aside, just it looked like, oh my God, there's something's going to happen. It's just going to be sad. And I just don't feel, even though it did look very uplifting at the same time, it's just from the trailer, I can tell.
The tragedy really is kind of watching someone's downfall. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's gotcha. Bradley Cooper is a drunk. He's a drunk, and Lady Gaga, she's being picked up on this journey, but he's not changing his ways. And so that's the sad part.
Okay. All right. So next category is comedy. So comedies, the nominees are Game Night, Sorry to Bother You, Cock Blockers, Crazy Rich Asians, and Deadpool 2. Now, Deadpool 2, I definitely like. That was one where it's like, is it a comedy or is it an action? It's like we kind of ended up going with comedy. So
comedy. It's way comedy.
So what would your vote be?
Pause. That's gross. I'm sorry. I've got mucus that's coming out.
Yummy. You got the phlegm.
Phlegm. Okay. This one's hard. This one's really, really hard. Mm-hmm. The two that I'm between are going to be Game Night and Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay.
Deadpool 2, I saw again recently on my flight home from Connecticut.
Okay.
And it was funny, but like I feel like I love the first one more.
Yeah, okay.
Because I watched the first one again like while I was going to sleep, and I was like, oh, this is great. This is really, really good. Crazy Rich Asians is such a phenomenal movie. Crazy Rich Asians is possibly a contender for my movie of the year. It is so good. Like I was like surprised at how good it was. Comedy wise, it's funny. Her friend in particular is super, super funny. Mm-hmm. Some of the shit that she says is just like, wow. But like just the movie as a whole, how it's shot, the story is one of those surprises that I was not expecting. But if we're going to go straight on comedy, I got to give it to Game Night. Game Night was one of those hangover kind of moments for me where I was like, I did not expect it to be that funny.
Yeah. I agree to a certain extent with Crazy Rich. I'm not as high as you, apparently.
I wish I was high right now. I have to say that right
now. I'm not as high on Crazy Rich. I liked it, but definitely not anywhere close to any of my movies of the year. Definitely not. It was very good. I'm going to give you that. And I would even say it's my top 3. Just because my top 2 would have to be Sorry to Bother You, and I'm going to have to agree with you as far as Game Night. Uh-huh. Sorry to Bother You, I think what was so surprising about that one was the absurdity of it, because one of the basic premises of it is a black guy using white voice. And so having Patton Oswalt be his white voice was just so freaking hilarious. And then the other one is I can't remember his real name, but he plays Tobias in why can't I think what?
You're not talking about Danny Glover, are you?
No, I'm talking about there's another main guy, and he's played by the same guy who plays Tobias in Arrested Development.
Oh God, is he the one that plays Batman in the Lego Movie?
Oh no, that's Will Arnett. No, I'm talking about the guy who plays. So the guy Tobias is the one who he's the husband.
David Cross.
There you go, David Cross. Yeah. So
that's Danny Glover's voice, right?
No, he's a different guy. Although I think they probably use him for Danny Glover as well, because I don't know. But either way, having Patton Oswalt and David Cross, like the two most whitest sounding people, and it was just so funny. But the entire thing also is just very it's just so interesting. I can't say too much because there's this twist near the end, and it is so just out of left field and so absurd that it's funny. But also, like, the whole premise is that he works at a telemarketer place, and one of the funny bits that they have is they literally put this guy in the same room as the people he's calling as like a metaphor. And so it's really interesting, especially like there's these one couple like having sex, and he's sitting there, oh, sorry to bother you, like, would you like to buy this?
Yeah, the narcissistic nature of it is something that I don't think can be understated.
Mm-hmm. And then just the twist at the very end is definitely one thing that just like had me and my wife just like, what the fuck is this movie, in a good way. And then just from a sheer comedy, like a good time. is Game Night. So I'm gonna have to agree with you as far as it was just a good time. It was a good comedy. I feel like everybody else in their aunt was just pretty much like, oh, this is just, you know, mediocre. But it's like, you know, there's nothing wrong with just a good time. It's like I want to laugh, I want to, and I feel like the story of it was also just like really interesting. So
it's also very artistic the way they do things too, like the whole like how they play around with like transitions with the game pieces, and then like, you know, stuff like that is really cool too. Like it's very well put together from story, dialogue, and from the film aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely. So comedy of the year for us is Game Night. Next category. You can call me Nick.
Our next category is animated / family. And we want to preface, yes, CGI does count.
Yes, it is animated.
Our nominees are Christopher Robin, Teen Titans Go to the Movies, Grinch.
Oh, I want to take that off so bad.
Incredibles
Sorry.
2.
Can we take that off, please? This was before. This was before I watched it.
We're gonna leave it on because we got to talk.
Can I put in disappointment?
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay, take it off. Let's redo that, and we're putting it in because I swear to God, that is. I honestly, I would have already taken it off if I would have been paying attention, because that does not deserve to be in here whatsoever. Okay, redo that.
All right, our next category is animated / family movies, and yes, CGI does count. Our nominees are Christopher Robin, Teen Titans Go to the Movies, Incredibles 2, Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet. I'm going to wreck it. And honorable mention is Spider-Man, because it doesn't come out until later this week as we're recording.
Technically, I think by the time this comes out, it is going to be out, but we're recording this, you know, so that we can actually take December off and everything. But so yeah, that's the irony of it, is like we're saying it literally as I'm probably going to be going and seeing it.
Yeah, we'll probably agree though that Spider-Man probably would win this if we were actually able to see it.
Yes, I 100% agree with that.
It looks fucking phenomenal. I actually had a friend of mine. He's an older guy. He's not really into the same stuff I am. But a commercial for it came on. He was like, "That looks super lame," and I was like, "That actually looks really cool. Like, do you know what the story to this is?" And I got real nerdy about it. He was just like, "Oh, okay."
It looks so good, and oh my God,
I can't believe Nicolas Cage is in it.
Nicolas Cage is in it?
He's Spider Noir.
Oh my God, is he?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm going to have to like rewatch that 80 times now just so I can try to hear his voice, because I've heard it, but like oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So what's going to be your picks for this?
God. Real quick, because I don't want to spend too much time on it. Real quick, I have to say Christopher Robin, huge surprise. We happen to see it at a dollar theater. So it's basically one of the theaters that they come out right before the DVD comes out. And so you can go on a Tuesday and you get it for $1. And I have to say that like this was a really good movie. Not only was it like super deep as far as like the actual story, and I would argue like it wasn't even really like a kid's story. It was an adult story that had talking stuffed animals.
This movie is very much for me. Winnie the Pooh and the entire gang have a giant place in my heart.
And
like
see,
I grew up on Calvin Hobbes and Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, and see the movie itself very much acknowledges everything that happened in the past and makes like subtle references to it, and I'm just like, yes.
I almost cried in the trailer when I saw that first trailer. I was like,
you fucking baby.
Also because I love Ewan McGregor, and I was like, that's perfect casting. But I'm sitting here, he's like Pooh, and I'm like, oh my God,
what are you doing here, Pooh? Oh my God, one of my favorite parts, and I think it's in the trailer, so it's not like I'm gonna give it away, but one of my favorite parts is that like, how did you get here? It's like, oh well, this doorway appeared, and I think it was here because it was needed, and now it's not because it's not. And Ewan McGregor's just like, well, that's a silly explanation. He's like, oh well, thank you. I was like one of the people, and I think it's because I had such an attachment to Pooh, but I was one of the people in the movie theater. There was it wasn't like packed by any means, but there was a lot of people there. And I was one of the people, I was just cracking up at the smallest thing. Like Tigger would say something, I would just bust up laughing. So anyways, I just wanted to say that was probably one of the biggest surprises of the year, not the top contender. Teen Titans Go, I literally just rented from Redbox because my wife wasn't here and it was just me and my daughter. So I'm like, you know what? She's going to recognize like Superman. She's going to recognize Batman and she's just going to have a good time. And that one also huge freaking surprise as far as like, oh, this is actually good. And speaking of Nicolas Cage, having him voice Superman was
so
the
fucking
biggest inside joke of all fucking time. It was so funny to hear him as Superman. And just as an adult, because obviously I don't think a lot of kids probably know this, but as an adult, there was supposed to be a Tim Burton and
Superman.
he's seeing him with like balding but also long hair.
So let me ask you, because my memory is a little bit faded. Is Teen Titans Go to the Movies the one where Batman is like riding his Batmobile and then it keeps
yes,
and then he rides Alfred?
Yes. And then there's this thing going around on Facebook. It's a huge annoyance of mine because like there's this thing going around on Facebook and it's like, who made this? And it's basically a parody of the opening of The Lion King where it's like and then instead of Simba being held up, it's Robin. And there's people on the internet, they're like, who made this? I'm like, that's from the fucking movie, you idiots.
The fact of how meta the creators of Teen Titans Go are pisses me off because they know, and they're finally remedying it. They know that we want Teen Titans back, and they'll literally go, "Oh yeah, you want Teen Titans back? Oh hey, we're gonna talk about how you love Teen Titans, but we're not gonna bring it back." It's just the fact of how meta they are is really fucking annoying, but it's also really funny.
Yeah. All right, so then my top two is what I'm building up to is obviously Incredibles 2 and Wreck-It Ralph are my top two. This is super hard for me. There are so many people who have been hating on Incredibles 2, and for that matter, I don't think a lot of people absolutely loved Wreck-It Ralph 2, but they liked it. And I have to say, it's really hard for me to choose between these two. I mean, where's your head at as far as these two movies?
How much it means to me, my vote would have to be Incredibles 2. The only thing is I want to have a small conversation about Wreck-It Ralph because I'm really indifferent about it. Yeah. I don't know if it's just because we saw it.
I have to agree.
I don't know if that's the thing. I don't know if it's because we saw it like at 11 o'clock at night and so we were really tired or what. My favorite thing about Wreck-It Ralph was how meta it was. It is the most meta Disney movie ever. The Disney princess scene, I was fucking losing it. Whenever they were all freaking out, and Von Schweetz is like, "Do I need to call the cops? Are you guys okay?" Like that was really funny. But and another thing that was really cool, you probably noticed this, but if you didn't, except for the ones that were from the 30s cartoons that passed away a long time ago, all those Disney princesses were the original Disney princesses.
Right, of course.
So I didn't know that until I was like, wait, that sounds like Ming Wen. Mulan. And I was like, okay, wait, everyone else sounds the same. But like, I think that Wreck-It Ralph 1 was a better movie.
Yeah.
But I think the fact of how much they doubled down on the internet and the internet's reaction to this movie shows a lot of creativity that makes me want to, I feel like they're on even playing fields for different reasons.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little bit more, the more I talk about it, the more I feel like the clear winner for me is Incredibles 2. Cause like the more I think about it, it was a good movie. It wasn't a great movie.
Yeah.
And it's because I have to agree with you. This is gonna be so backwards, but it's like, I completely agree with you in the fact that the Disney scene was the best scene. However, it was also the most out of place scene for me. And it's not because Wreck-It Ralph is Disney. Obviously, they're going to go visit Disney. But rather, like, it was the most out of place because it had no point in the movie. There was nothing about it being in the movie that it needed to be there. It was just there because Disney's a thing. like my example is going to be that for the whole movie, the whole thing, the whole movie is about Ralph and Princess Pajamalana. Yes, Princess Sweets. The entire movie is about their relationship, and obviously even the climax is just their over dependence on each other, or at least Ralph's over dependence on the relationship itself. And so it's just everything was about them, and then randomly in the middle of the movie, because they needed her to go visit the princesses, she's just like, hey, can I go be a pop-up ad? And so her departure from the main story, even though it led to something that was really cool, it's just a scene. That's all it is. It's just something that happens, and it has absolutely no, other than like she gets to have a song. Like, I just wish they would have had, I wish they would have had a more organic reason for her to go there, because I felt like everything else that happened in the movie was very organic. But then all of a sudden in the very middle, we have this 5 to 10 minute scene that just really serves no purpose other than it's this nice, inside joke. Basically, that's all it is a 10-minute long inside joke.
So I think it fits in a different context. In the context of the movie itself is very meta on how it's handling things, that would make sense to me for them to show, oh, she is in context to Disney Princess as well. And this kind of plays into another thing of how meta and why I think it does fit, even though it seems out of place, is one of my favorite scenes from the trailer. My wife and I literally busting up laughing every time we saw it, which was the mobile game thing. She fell asleep a couple times because she was sick. And so I woke her up at one point. She was like, did I miss that scene? I was like, no. And this was towards the end. I was like, wait, I haven't seen that scene yet. And so we waited until the mid-credits section. And the little girl goes, yeah, spoiler alert, obviously. But the little girl's like, oh, and the mom's like, what, honey? And she was like, are you sad that you didn't see that thing that was in the trailer? And she was like, uh-huh. And she was like, okay, well, why don't you just play your game? She's like, okay. And then that's when that happens. And it's like, it just, scenes like that kind of, even though they don't like talking about the Disney princess stuff, even though that doesn't fit into your typical context, I think the way that they did this movie does make it fit. So that's my only thing about it. But that's a hill that I'm not going to die on. But yeah, I think that the clear winner is Incredibles 2. It kind of goes back to, like, anytime we see these movies, like I think Toy Story 4 is going to be the one next year.
Yeah.
Because like Pixar has been doing fantastic of like Monsters University. Hey, for this generation, my generation, for this generation of kids that saw Monsters Inc. when they were kids, they're now going to college. We're going to give them a movie that is fitting to where they are in their life.
I didn't think about it that way.
Incredibles 2 is kind of the same thing. Not so much literally, but like this movie, Incredibles is my all-time favorite superhero movie of all time.
Yes, definitely.
Of all time. And so for this one to come out this time, I was just like, oh, be still my heart. Like, and so for sure it's got to be Incredibles 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Although I will say that there is this video essay that came out about how Incredibles 2 basically was a retread of it. And it's like, I agree with every single point this person makes. However, still a freaking good movie.
There was a meme that came out about how Incredibles 2 is connected to Monsters Inc.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was the scene whenever the power went out in Monsters Inc. And here, I'll read it. It's when the interview is like, well, a kid flew right over me. And it's a scene from Incredibles when Jack's jumping up and down. The next one's like, and he blasted a car with his laser vision. And it's a scene where Jack's shooting the lasers at the raccoon.
Yeah.
And then the other guy's like, I tried to run from him and pick me up with his mind powers and shook me like a dog. And the caption was, in The Incredibles 2, when Jack phases into another dimension, he apparently goes to Monsters Inc.
That's a good point. That's freaking hilarious. So yeah, Incredibles 2. Next one is Best Sci-Fi / Fantasy. Our nominees are Upgrade, Ready Player One, Annihilation, and Kin.
You're such a fucking asshole. God,
Those are the nominees. Let's talk about them.
I fucking quit.
For people at home, on our list it says Solo, but I mean that's the thing that killed Star Wars. So why would I want that to be on our
Okay,
best?
well, let me ask you: is Solo or The Last Jedi a better movie?
I don't know. I haven't seen it because I don't want to see it because I don't want to support Star Wars and their oversaturation of Star Wars films.
Solo was a fun fucking ride.
Yeah, it was also a very unneeded ride.
We'll talk about it later. Damn it! Go through the list.
So
Quit,
out of
I'm leaving.
So now that the baby's done crying,
I'm sorry. Okay, now you can continue.
So Upgrade, Ready Player One, Annihilation, Kin, and there's also this other movie.
We'll just talk about it later. I don't care.
So out of those, what do you think are your top two contenders?
The two that I'm the most interested in are Kin and Upgrade.
Okay.
And
I've seen both of them, so I can definitely.
I feel like Ready Player One is an easy shoe in. On the other side,
I feel like I would not agree, but I'll go on.
For the category, Ready Player One feels like it fits into that and into the sci-fi sense. Okay. Well, no, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But part of me wants to give it to Upgrade because we couldn't get action, and I think it probably deserves it. But the one
it couldn't get action.
The one that couldn't get action.
12-year-old.
But Kin is the one that I was the most interested in when I saw trailers for it because it's the one that came out of nowhere.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, my top two are actually going to be Annihilation and Upgrade. Ready Player One, the reason it needed to be nominated, not for this one, but also for action, is the fact that it is a good movie. And I mean, if you've read the book, then you hate the movie automatically because there's so much that they changed about it. There's so much. I didn't personally read the book and or listen to it. So I enjoyed it as a movie. And I feel like in today's age, there are so many examples, not only video game movies, but just movies that were comic books and or books beforehand, and now they're movies. There's so many instances where it's just like, of course it's not the same as the book. Of course this didn't happen. They are trying to make it a movie. They are trying to make it adhere to a more or a bigger audience. So I don't like when I hear complaints about, oh, this is nothing like the book. It's like, what movie is? There are plenty, but at the same time, there's just so many out there that it's like the biggest word that you can use in defense of most video game movies or book movies or comic book movies is the word adaptation. This is the adaptation. It's taking the themes, it's taking the overall construction of the movie and or game or book or whatever, and it's making it into a movie and it's trying to mainstream it. Okay. And I mean, I don't know, like I hate that argument. Oh, it's nothing like the book. It's like, I don't know. It's just never a good argument for me because I feel like in order to enjoy anything, you have to take away your previous assumptions of it. To assume at all that anything is going to be exactly like X, Y, or Z is just, at this point, how long it's been since we've actually gotten a good adaptation. It's just stop expecting anything like the book. Instead, try to look at what's good about it as a movie by itself rather than, oh, this is a good, I don't know. Anyways, so that's what I'm going to say.
Right. The only thing that I can relate to as far as that, the book, it's nothing like the book. The only experience that's very memorable for me is I grew up on the Harry Potter movies. I'm that generation that was kids when, like, I matched with the movies up until the later ones, pretty much.
Gotcha.
So watched the first two, first 2 or 3, and then I was like, I'm gonna go read the books, and so I started reading the books, and AR was the thing at my school, so I was reading those to get like points and stuff like that. I really enjoyed them though. So I was in the middle of reading Goblet of Fire when Goblet of Fire came out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is just because I'm fairly certain Goblet of Fire is everyone's least favorite Harry Potter movie.
Hell yeah.
So I was really enjoying the book, and I was probably in the middle of the book when I went to go see the movie. And within the first 10, 15, 20 minutes of the movie, the only thing that was the same from the book was the opening scene. And then after that, nothing was the same, which was very I didn't like, because I really liked what was going on in the book.
Yep.
And so that kind of like plagued my view on that movie. But then as I got older, I realized, oh, nobody really likes this movie.
Yeah. My big thing, and I mean, this might not be a surprise to anybody who actually knows me. My big thing is I just don't read books, and so like, for anybody to use the argument that, oh, it's nothing like the book, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't read books, so it's just not a good argument for that reason alone. Then for the other reason is just that I don't know. I feel like it's such a bad expectation to expect it to be anything like a book. I feel like when you go into it, be like, oh, this better be in there. This better be in there. It's just like, try to just enjoy a movie. Why does it have to be exactly like its source material? Let's even talk about like cartoons. It's like, here we have a cartoon and then now it's a live action or something. It's like, don't go into it expecting anything, because you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. I don't know. I'm done there. Upgrade and Annihilation are my top contenders. And Annihilation, what makes it such a good like sci-fi specifically movie is just how much like science they really like put into it. Obviously it's way out there. But the science that they did put into it and just the interesting aspect. Not only that, but making me believe that Natalie Portman and just her, 90-pound stick figure is believable as a army person, I thought was a really good job on their part. But also just like the mystery behind it and the absolute just really good story that they put into it. It was a good story first, and then it was also a good sci-fi movie. And so, I mean, that's why it gets my, like, honestly, I feel like that's my number one vote is Annihilation, just because of how good it's put together. Upgrade gets a really big shout out for me because, like I said before, is just how unique it is. It takes this concept, it takes this tried and true, it's been done 1,000 million gajillion times, revenge story, and it just puts a new spin on it. And any movie that can take such a basic concept but still make it so interesting because of what they do with it definitely deserves recognition. And also, I mean, discount Tom Hardy, he really needs more recognition for being anything but discount Tom Hardy.
Right.
So, I mean, but yeah, I my number one is Annihilation in my opinion.
Okay.
So this one's a hard one because which one of these have you seen?
Yeah, I'm abstaining from this. So this one's gonna be yours. You say Annihilation. Annihilation. The only reason I didn't see Annihilation was because I was believing in the rumor of, hey, that's coming to Netflix in like 2 weeks, so I didn't go to the theater to see it. And I just never saw it. Whenever is it out for free on digital?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so we just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The only thing that I have negative against Solo isn't necessarily that it wasn't, nobody asked for it, which nobody did. Isn't that they completely fucked up the mythology, which it did. It's just the fact that from everybody that actually did like it, they just thought it was mediocre. They just thought it was like, oh yeah, it was a nice ride. It wasn't anything. It wasn't anything that really pushed an envelope, whereas Annihilation was just a really, really good movie and artistic, and the cinematography and the meanings behind it. There's like philosophical, meanings behind it where you could go really deep into it. Whereas Solo is like as deep as a puddle, as wide as a, ocean, or whatever the saying is, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, there's tons of stuff happening, but the deepness of those stuff mean nothing because it actually in many ways like kind of contradicts a lot of things. So
yeah, so I mean, I'm not gonna like I put that up there jokingly. I'm not gonna vote for Solo. Solo was definitely one of those that was better second time.
yeah.
Because your expectations were already set.
To zero.
Well, so I'll get into Solo later, but yeah, I mean, I would do either Upgrade or Annihilation because those are the two that I'm the most interested in that are on this list.
Mhm.
So if you want to give it to Annihilation, I'll back you up. That's fine. We'll do it.
You'll back me? Heck
I'll
yeah,
back you.
definitely. I mean, if you trust me on Scruggs, you gotta trust me on Annihilation, because
That's true. That's very valid.
I mean, although I do have to say, watch Upgrade, watch Annihilation, and I think you'll agree with me with the uniqueness of Upgrade, but also just the deepness of Annihilation. And the deepness is, I think, what makes it above Upgrade, just because Upgrade is just a really good time. You'll have a lot of fun watching it, but Annihilation, like, you could go and you could like take a class on just all the philosophical like shit that they talk about in that movie. So
like an Interstellar or like a Inception.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, that's fine.
I would put it right next to like Interstellar as far as like the deepness of it and like the meanings behind it and stuff. Yeah, I would definitely. So
Okay.
All right, so next category. Did you do? I did the last one, so yeah, you
turn. Next category is Best Actor or Actress of the Year, period. This is 2018, and we're going to use they or them pronouns.
Okay, just as a behind the scenes, in parentheses next to it, I say make a joke about we don't segregate, that's the joke he decided to go with.
We may edit that out. So if you're listening to this,
that was good because the whole reason I personally wanted to put actor or actress is that like I want to talk about who was the best actor or actress, who did the best performance, rather than who's the best guy and who's the best girl. But not only that, but the other reason is because we're not an official award, venue. We are just a couple of guys on the internet. So having every, actor and actress have the main one and the supporting and the, like having that just doesn't make sense because we're not an official site. We're just a couple of guys talking about the performances that we enjoyed. And so that was the main reason, but then also the other thing. So that was a good one. Thank you. So
I try. So
nominations.
Our nominees are main character, Bradley Cooper, John Krasinski, Lakeith. Is it Lakeith or Lakeith?
I think it's Lakeith.
Lakeith or Lakeith Steinfeld.
Lakeith, doth thou know you wear your mother's drapes?
Doth thou know I can't do it. And Rami Malek. And though Bradley Cooper, obviously a Star is Born, John Krasinski, who's had a fucking phenomenal year apparently.
Oh yeah,
A Quiet Place, the Netflix movie Next Gen. Also his first big series in a while, Jack Ryan, on Amazon.
Jack Ryan.
Lakeith Steinfeld, Sorry to Bother You, and then Rami Malek from Bohemian Rhapsody, who played Freddie Mercury.
Mark, who's Kate? Why is Kate Blanchett here? What movie are we putting her down for?
You put that? I don't know.
Oh no, I think that was Coach. So we're gonna get rid of that.
I'm going to put the girl who played Domino from Deadpool 2 because I really liked her performance.
I thought it was pretty much what you would expect.
She was. Okay. I mean, she was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
Zazie Beetz, I think is her name.
Zazie.
That's just
fun to say.
Yeah. Zazie Beetz. Like she
should be on this list just because it's fun to say.
That poll 2. We're going to the poll to vote.
What's up, kiddo? Oh, is your show off, baby? Okay, and Bix, go watch your show, baby. Okay, Daddy's almost done, and we'll paint. Oh God, yeah, we need to hurry.
Okay.
I want her to have time to paint.
Yeah. And
Go
then
ahead, sweetie.
for supporting actors or actresses, we have Zazie Beetz, such a fun name to say. She played Domino from Deadpool 2. And then we have the Quiet Place kids, Millicent Simmons and Noah Jupe.
So right off the bat, I'm the one who put the Quiet Place kids, although I'm sure you agree.
I agree.
But the main reason is just how believable they are.
So
just,
wait, are we not going to put the one kid that died on there?
Hey, now.
That's not funny, but it's kind of funny.
It's kind of funny. Kind of funny. Anyways, no, but they're so believable. And I feel like Millicent,
yeah.
Simmons, Melissa. That's the girl. What I like the most about her is the fact that she's actually deaf, and John Krasinski made sure that they actually chose somebody who's deaf so that they could give a really good performance. I don't feel like it was necessary, although after her performance, I'm like, the fact that she's also deaf in real life, I'm like, well, that's great. Like, I'm glad that they did that. Because
that they did a lot of real things with the kids to help them with the performance, like the whole scene with the lantern, that was real. They set that lantern on fire. Like they didn't the director, like John, staged that. The kids didn't know what was going to happen, so the look on their face was actual genuine like terror, because they're like, oh my God, they're going to hear us. And so their performance also has something to do with the John Krasinski's directorial of them. But yeah, they're one of the best parts of the show.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, it's the believability. And there's actually an interview out there where like the boy is talking, Noah, he's talking about how he was really worried about performing because 90% of this movie is not saying anything, it's acting. And it's like having the adults do that is one thing, but having, little kids basically, I mean, I don't know how old they are.
I can feel the performance anxiety as well, man. I understand.
Yeah. Anyways, but having them act so good and it not coming off as forced or anything like that, I feel like is saying something, because it's like, especially these two, like what else have they been in? Not a lot of movies. So like John Krasinski, he's at least established. Emily Blunt, she is established as an actor and actress, and so them acting really good without having to use words, it's like, it's good, but I wouldn't say is as commendable as these two pretty much no names doing such a good job and so believable. And then especially because there was a death at the beginning, their reactions and how they felt to it, her guilt and his championing his sister, like, hey, you need to tell her you love her because she needs to hear it. And so just like, oh my God, it's so raw. And the fact that all the actors and actresses, they felt like an actual family.
Right.
And like the kid was rebellious, but the Noah, he was trying to be like the man of the house or something, just everything felt so believable.
Well,
so that's the reason they needed to be on the list.
And it's something I didn't know that Emily Blunt was John Krasinski's wife until this was coming out, because in the interview she was talking about reading the script and she was like, John, I need to play this performance. And I was like, wait, and my wife was like, yeah, you didn't know they were married? I was like, no.
Who does? Honestly, you see John and then you see Emily Blunt and you're like, oh yeah, not in a million years. So you're like, what?
Shout out to Emily Blunt though, being Mary Poppins. That looks pretty.
No one cares. No one really.
I love Mary Poppins. Shut up. Okay, no. So
it's just another live action that they're bringing, and it looks like an exact retread of everything.
So the reason why I have
cartoon sequence, she's probably gonna sing about
Dick Van Dyke is
sugar.
in it. Shut up.
Shut up.
So the reason why I have Zazie Beetz on here is because me personally, I really loved her performance in Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2, unfortunately for me, is just kind of an okay film. Like I definitely think the first one is better. I think the first one plays more into the Deadpool like nature because it was the first one. That's kind of the way I look at it. But her nonchalantness and then her just playing the character she is, she's lucky. So she's like, I mean, I don't really have to put forth any effort. And so like her interactions are really funny. And then her action scenes are really good too.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I love the part whenever they're trying to break the kids out of the place, and she was like, "Okay, I just need a bus," and the bus crashes through the wall. She was like, "All right, let's go," and like just how her performance is. I'm just going along with what's happening around me.
Yeah, right.
And that kind of brought some fresh air to it, I think.
Yeah. So then I think the main ones for me, I would have to say is John Krasinski and Lakeith Stanfield.
Did you know that he was L in Death Note?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I knew he was in Atlanta because he's a phenomenal actor. He was also the guy in Get Out. I didn't know that either.
I see. That's the one I didn't know because it was just like his, like
him without a beard. I never seen him without a beard.
Yeah, right.
So I really have to give a like big shout out to Rami Malek for playing Freddie Mercury. It was just outstanding. I mean, it was so incredible to watch him have that performance and just to see. Now, the Bohemian Rhapsody as a movie, I thought was okay. It was not my favorite, and it's really starting to make me doubt Bryan Singer as a director. It really, really is.
Ooh. Shots fired.
Well, because like it had no real center point to it. Like the beginning of the movie plays like a montage. And so that's
every movie needs a montage. Montage.
His performance, you see his heartbreak, you see, and then you just look up compilations of people stitching together, like, for example, that's the big one, the Live Aid performance and the performance in the movie. It's like, wow, like this guy paid so much and he's getting so much praise. Like Robert Downey Jr. just made a post about how in love with his performance he was. Mm-hmm. It's one of those that I'm trying to think of a antithesis, but it's one of those that it could be the performance of a generation, just like how true to form it was. Mm-hmm. John Krasinski I really, really like. He hasn't done anything that's wowed me. A Quiet Place would be one, and then Jack Ryan I still have to watch. But I honestly I think I'm gonna have to agree with you. Just so in Atlanta, Lakeith Stanfield, his character plays kind of like an idiot, but it's an idiot savant. The amount of like I think genius that goes on in that actor's mind, I think is just unprecedented. I mean, I feel like I want to put him on the same level as Jordan Peele. Mm-hmm. Just because I feel like their performances in the way they do their craft is just second to none.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in John Krasinski's defense, like I feel like enough needs to be said about his performance as like a dad, you know, and like as a dad, like just everything in that movie, once again, going back to when I was talking about the kids, everything in that movie was just so believable. Their family unit was just so believable, you know, and then going back to the fact that none of them talked, I feel like it was just so good. And one of the reasons I want to kind of champion John Krasinski is that in Next Gen, we could have just gotten this silly John Krasinski, and it wouldn't have been that far off of what we would have expected from like the guy who played in Office, you know? But what I really liked about him in particular in that role is that he brought a humanity to this robot, and it just felt really good.
Yeah.
And Next Gen being a Netflix movie also was just a really big surprise because it's like this is a Pixar quality movie, but it's on Netflix. You know, honestly, we should have put it in Best CG at least as a nomination because it was so good. But from an actor's standpoint, it's just I really liked his performance in that, and I loved his performance in A Quiet Place.
You know who we left out?
Who did we leave out?
Josh Brolin.
What about him?
Thanos.
And
Sicario.
I wouldn't say he was a good actor in it, though. I mean, he was. It was believable that he wanted to kill everybody, but I mean,
no, there's way more depth
of the year. If we were talking about best villain of the year, hell to the he would win with absolutely nobody even.
Well, he was also in that firefighter movie about the California fires.
Oh God, why didn't I think about that? Thank you for reminding me of that movie that you can't even think about. So
Shut
thanks.
up. Yeah, I love Josh Brolin, so I want to give him a shout out. That one is hard because I love John Krasinski as well. As far as what's been done this year, John probably would get it. But I mean, and Bradley Cooper. Fuck you, Bradley Cooper, for making me cry like a baby.
Yeah, right. I mean, like you were going somewhere with Lakeith in the fact that, like, Sorry to Bother You was just such an absurd
piece of film. Like, it's not just a movie; it's a piece of film.
Yes, and I mean, like
Atlanta too. Atlanta is special. Atlanta is something special.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I love his performance in it because it's definitely like the absurd nature of it, and then therefore his reaction to a lot of things is like I don't want to sound bad, but it's like instead of this just stereotypical like, oh, he's black so he needs to be loud and he needs to be this, it was very believable as far as this is. I don't want to say this because it's going to sound so bad, but please know I'm coming from the right place. It was a believable black portrayal. It wasn't your token black guy, which I would agree. Like one of his friends was kind of like the token black guy, like what you would expect a token black guy to act like. And then him being the main character, he acted just like a person who happens to be black. And so like, I like when characters are written that way, because a person's race shouldn't be the de facto reason why he is a good actor. It should be the fact that he played that character the best. And I believe that the fact that he's black has nothing to do with whether or not he played that character good, or whether that character himself was good. It's just he played it really good.
Yeah, that's kind of the same reason why I like Atlanta so much. He's in it, so I can kind of talk about it. But Donald Glover, Childish Gambino, whatever you want to call him, that's very much his performance in the show. He wrote it, and I don't think he directed it, but I know he wrote the show. But his point of view is he's in this like not so great neighborhood. He's in Chicago. I think it's Chicago. But instead of it just
why is it called Atlanta if it's
you're right, it's Atlanta. It's Atlanta. I was thinking of Chicago. I was watching something recently with Chicago. No, it's fuck me. It's it's in Atlanta. But his point of view is so interesting because like he's kind of an avatar. I mean, he's way more than that, but as like a white male, like
blue guy.
No, like a white male like myself, he's seeing the stuff that's going on.
Hold on. What, sweetie? My buddy said something funny, sweetie. Go watch your show, okay? Almost done.
He's kind of like an avatar, not very much, but for like a white male like myself, like watching this, like not having experienced the stuff that they've experienced in the show, it's very interesting to see because his point of view is kind of like he's kind of not, he's in the, like it's hard to say he's involved, but he's not. Like it's kind of one of those like, wait, why are you acting like this? Like it's kind of a perspective on like, okay, I'm in this community, like I'm here, but I'm not this that's being portrayed.
Gotcha.
It's that's what I'm trying to say. I'm sick, damn it.
It's hard because we're single, or we're not single. We're straight white men. That's why it's hard to talk about it, because it's like we're just straight white men, so our opinions don't matter.
Our opinions don't matter. No,
exactly. We're not in this. Yeah. So that's why it's so hard to talk about. And it's so like
give it to Lakeith.
Oh hell yeah, I'll do that. I mean, John Krasinski, I mean, just for the amount of stuff he's done this year, I would love to give it to him. But as far as like, we're obviously agreeing on Lakeith, so I feel like that's where it needs to go. Plus, it's not understated that he's just a really good actor in general, and him being put in such an absurd situation, especially the end. Like, spoiler alert, I'm going to put it in here. Like, the ending, like you saw it, right? So,
yeah.
Yeah, the ending where it's like horse people, like just the absurd nature of where that fucking movie goes is absolutely like just like, so I don't know. That's
excuse me.
That's definitely like the biggest surprise I think of the year as well, was just where that movie ended up going. So anyway, so all right, Lakeith Stanfield is our best actor and or actress of the year. So next category is most disappointing / worst movie. Our nominees: Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, Ocean's 8, Solo, Venom, and Grinch. So let's do what we've been doing, which is pretty much picking our top 2.
First off, I would like to say I did not put Solo here, but this is the only chance I'll get to talk about it, so I left it where it's at. For me, the one I'm going to pick is Venom because Venom was the most complex for me. Jurassic World, I'll put simply, it was a by the books movie. Nothing special about it. Stuff I didn't think they did stuff that I actually didn't expect, like how much they tried to humanize the dinosaurs, like especially in the world that we live in now. Like it was a very interesting perspective.
Yeah.
My favorite part about the movie was the ending, and it was just to see, where are they going to go next? That was it.
I feel like that's like it's also its biggest detriment is that where it's gonna go is most interesting. What happened was just like, okay,
it was
this didn't need to be here at all, in my opinion.
So for me, it's gonna be Venom. When my wife and I went to go see Venom, we walked out of the movie theater. We were like, that was good. We liked that. That was interesting. And I remember going into it, one of the biggest things that I saw ratings wise was people saying it seems like Venom and Tom Hardy are the only two people that don't know this movie is an actual serious movie. I was like, uh-oh. Right. But watching it, I was like, okay, like I really liked their back and forth. Well, actually, they're because they're the same person because Tom Hardy voiced Venom as well. But the more we were explaining it to people, the more we were talking about it, we were like, oh, that actually wasn't that good. And so it was kind of like it was a delayed effect, but there were parts of Venom I liked. Like I actually really did like Tom Hardy / Venom's performance. Like one of my favorite scenes was whenever they finally decide, okay, we need to work together. And he was like, and Venom's like, we got to stop right. He's like, dude, you haven't seen shit. He like just comes up with shit. Like he'll like blah, 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 like knives or whatever. And then when they actually go to fight him, he like makes 2 giant cleavers and Venom goes, told you. Like just their interaction speaking to each other, I thought was really funny. The only thing that's interesting is the fact that how much money it made. It made so much that I don't think Spider-Man's ever going to come to Marvel Studios. I think Sony is going to keep it because Venom made so much money.
Yeah.
But that's mine. I liked it, but it's not a great movie.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. It's disappointing. It not necessarily has to be a bad movie to be on here, but it's just disappointing. So I have to 100% agree with you with Jurassic World as far as it's like it was okay, but I feel like Jurassic World has the biggest problem is that it just undoes everything that happened in the first movie. They were together. Well, not anymore. But then they end up together again. So it's like, why split them up if they're just going to end up getting back together? And just so many things. Just the whole mansion sequence, I actually really genuinely hated. Because it's just like all this is happening in this tiny mansion, which I get it. It's a mansion, but it was also just so unbelievable because like the establishing shots of the mansion really didn't make it believable that it was this freaking big.
Yeah. And it was one of, now granted, to be fair, most of that stuff was underground.
You don't even get me started on that.
But like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is definitely a human story. Like it's not really a story about the dinosaurs at all. It's the greediness and the of humanity. And like I don't like I think my favorite part about it is the one scene that literally lasts throughout the movie. The fucking Jeff Goldblum court scene that starts at the movie and ends at the movie at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like it makes no sense. Like, I mean, it was cool to have, but I thought he was going to have a bigger part in it.
Yeah. I don't know. The movie altogether was just there. It just exists. When people talk about moments versus scenes, this entire movie was just one moment after another after another. Yep. It didn't flow. And I mean, that's the worst thing that could happen in a movie is just here's a set piece, here's a set piece, here's a set piece. It needs it needs to make sense. It needs every scene in a movie, which is why the Wreck-It Ralph Disney scene bothered me so much, is that every scene in a movie needs to make sense in the movie, but it also needs to lead to the next scene. And when a scene's in there that has no bearing on what happens next, it's just like one of the biggest things is they need blood for Blue, so they go into the T-Rex's thing. That entire scene, I just feel like it didn't need to be there. Yes, they were saving Blue, but it was just an excuse to have the T-Rex there. That's all it was.
If we're going to talk about scenes, the most in a movie I've seen in a very long time, the most conclusion to a setup from earlier in the movie, the whole thing about the fact that the kid's a clone.
Yeah.
100%.
Spoiler alert.
100. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because A, they don't set it up well enough. B, it's super fucking obvious. C, whenever they give the conclusion to, oh, you're actually this. This is me the whole time. I was like this. Like, I was just like, oh, was that supposed to be a thing?
No,
oh,
right.
She's a twin. She's not a real person. Oh, okay, cool. Like, and it's just like it has a meaning in terms of the story because like she has a connection to the dinosaurs because that's technically what the dinosaurs are, is they're clones of their originals. But like I feel like it wasn't set up well enough. I feel like it had literally no meaning to it. Like I've never like I'm cheap. I'm a cheap whore.
Yeah.
When someone like tries to give me a big payoff, which sounds so fucking bad, I'm typically like, I'll take it. I'll be like,
you'll take it all.
Okay, I'll get it. But literally this one, I was deadpan. I was like, literally nothing. Like cool.
No, I 100% agree as far as
and it was just talking about taking money shots.
Bam, 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 bam. And that completely describes the whole movie. Is just like it just existed, and there's just so many examples of just like movies nowadays that just exist. And I mean, that's the problem when you just over franchise something. And here's the thing, like, I don't know, tell me if you agree. Did you like the first one, Jurassic World?
Yeah, I was surprised.
Yeah. And so I feel like that's also what makes this such a disappointment, is that I was one of the few, because I hate it when it happens. You watch a movie, then you go on, maybe you don't even mean to, but you go on the internet later and then somebody just offhandedly mentions, oh yeah, Jurassic World sucks. I'm like, what? And so then I looked into it and it's like everyone and their mother just hated Jurassic World. And I'm like, oh, I thought it was a really good movie. Damn it. Like, I hate when that happens. So I feel like we're agreeing on that, but let's talk about really fast. And I mean this really, really fast. Ocean's 8. What did you think about it?
Oh, I didn't see it.
You didn't see it? Well, I unfortunately did. And it was literally just a retread of, in a lot of ways, it was just a retread. But not only that, the fact that it was all women, like, I don't feel like they justified it enough.
Okay, let me ask you before we go down this road, because people will probably get mad about this, and we're not saying that.
Well, no, it's supposed to be really quick, so I'm trying to move on.
The question is, what was more egregious, this or the Ghostbusters reboot?
Oh, Ghostbusters, obviously.
Okay, I just wanted to ask because those are both very similar in the sense of, hey, we're rebooting
I would say maybe cast. Like, I don't know. Yeah, like if anything, this is because of Ghostbusters. They're like, oh, let's go ahead and try this, or what? I don't know. If they would have justified it, and not only that, but calling it Ocean's 8 actually reveals the twist at the end.
Yeah.
Which, I'll do another spoiler alert here. Spoiler alert: Anne Hathaway is part of the team at the very end. Mm-hmm. But if you're good at counting, right. If you're good at counting, you can see there's only 7 girls. Who's the 8th?
The better movie probably would be Widows.
Yeah, right. That's what I've heard. Yeah. And so then Grinch. Oh my God.
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'm so fucking ready.
Let me tell you this. Let's sit back for a second. Okay.
I'll grab my popcorn.
Yep. The Grinch, from the very beginning, I did not want to see the Grinch. I absolutely, positively did not want to see the Grinch, because just from the trailers, I'm just like, this is just a rehash of the Jim Carrey version. And I went and saw it. For one, I saw it on a Tuesday, which even at the more expensive ones, they have a Tuesday where it's a discount Tuesday. So it was only $5 rather than, fucking 12. So you got me coughing now, you jerk. So it was $5. So that was the only reason we went and saw it. And two is because both of my girls really wanted to go see it. And funnily enough, both of my girls prefer the Jim Carrey version.
Good.
So anyway, it was so bland. Everything it was just so the main thing that I really want to get out and I want to talk about is the fact that just the Grinch in general just didn't seem like a Grinch. It just seemed like a grumpy guy, But then the main thing that I absolutely hated about this version of the Grinch is that the Grinch's motivation for wanting to steal Christmas made no sense. Now, in the original cartoon, like the 1950s or whatever cartoon, it was pretty much just a retelling of the Grinch from the book. So there was no motivation. It's just he hated Christmas, so he decided to steal it. That was it. Whereas this one, it tries to give him motivation, but it was pretty much he was an orphan. Everybody was happy at Christmas and he wasn't. And so he decides to steal Christmas. Now, love it or hate it, Jim Carrey's version of the Grinch gives a really good reason for him hating Christmas. He didn't like Christmas.
Hate, loathe entirely.
He hated Christmas at the beginning, and then as a kid, he tried to enjoy himself, and he got into the Christmas spirit only to be absolutely shattered and shunned by his fellow Whovians. And so it really made sense why he hated Christmas. But that's not when he decided to steal Christmas. And the movie sets it up so perfectly because here is Cindy Lou Who, and I felt like her characterization was great as well. Here's Cindy Lou Who, and she goes and she wants to include the Grinch because she wants to believe that there's something more to Christmas than the commercialization that it became. Because that's all everybody in Whoville cared about was the commercialization of it. And I want gifts. I want gifts. I want gifts. That's what it was to everybody in Whoville. And she didn't believe that. She wanted to believe that Christmas meant more. So she included the Grinch and she made him the holiday hoobie-wuddy.
Holiday hoobie-wuddy?
Exactly. So she made him the holiday hoobie-wuddy. And so he came down and at first he fucking hated it, but then he got into it and he loved it and he was so happy to be there. And he was a Whovian. He was a part of the community again and he was so happy. And then boom, money shot. Here's the razor, the same razor that he got all that ridicule for him. And so that motivation for him to steal Christmas came from such a real place because he was traumatized as a kid, so much so that he became a fucking hermit up in the, the clouds. And so then for him to put himself in such a vulnerable state that he put himself back into the Who's that he separated himself from, to only then be put right back to where he was before, solidified his decision to steal Christmas. Whereas Grinch, the animated Minions one, was pretty much, I was sad as a kid, so now I'm going to steal Christmas. There was no inciting incident that made him decide to do it. It was just, I'm going to do it. And so that clear, just because movie is why I fucking hated it.
So this is my worry. I'm very much worried about the domination Illumination is doing because
nice.
Yeah, I know, right? Alliteration. I'm great at it. So like the Despicable Me movies, I thought they were good. I didn't see the third one, but I felt like it was just kind of whatever. But like the first two, I was like, this was good. Saw Minions. I'm like, I don't like this movie. Like this movie's not for me 100%. Like maybe kids will, but like I don't have any enjoyment out of this. That's my problem though, is I feel like Illumination is starting to put out these cartoons and they're just starting to be like, and maybe it's just one of those things that they're not, for us, but like Illumination seems like from you telling me it's a very bland thing. Like it just I can be like, oh, I can understand that. The problem also is when you go to the Grinch is the Jim Carrey Grinch is iconic. It's so iconic, especially in the day and age that we live in where new memes pop up every day. You know, there's a flurry of them with the Grinch. Like my favorite one is whenever he's trying to scare Cindy. And my favorite one was, it's like when you're trying to entertain your baby, and this is what they see, and it's when he's going, and he's doing like that. And like scenes from that are becoming more like memes because people are going back and rediscovering these things. But that movie is so iconic. Like I can quote any part of it. And it's
so many quotable. And see, that's the thing. There's so much that's quotable about it. This new Grinch, I can honestly remember one line from it, or at least like quotable line. And he's like, well, that's disturbing. And that's another thing. Cumberbatch, it could have literally been anybody in that role. The only reason his name was attached to it was because of his name. That's it. That's the only reason. I could have done the voice, and you wouldn't have known that it wasn't Benedict Cumberbatch. Whereas Grinch, Jim fucking Carrey, nobody could have done the same job that he did, or at least they could, but it would have been an imitation of Jim Carrey.
Yeah, so this makes me feel a little bit better. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 58% from the critics and a 59% from the audience.
Yay!
The consensus is the Grinch gives the classic Zeus source material a brightly animated update that's solidly suitable for younger viewers without adding substantially to the story's legacy.
Yep.
So I feel like that's
it's just there is pretty much what.
But here's the thing: like we can make animated movies that are substance, that are good, and kids will still love them. We don't need to like
look at Wall-E. Fucking Wall-E, dude.
The perfect antithesis of this is, guys, do you remember in the days of the 360 and the PS3, the shovelware shit?
Yeah.
These are what these movies are becoming. These movies are becoming AA, equivalent to AA games. And they're just shovelware. They're just, you know, and sure, there's a place for that. Boss Baby, but even Boss Baby was funny. I liked Boss Baby.
Right.
Let's just like, and this makes me terrified for the Super Mario movie. I was super excited.
Oh my god, seriously.
But this alone makes me fucking terrified.
Did we just make Grinch the most disappointing? We were agreeing on Jurassic World, but now it's like.
I guess because I mean, I think you can kind of expect that because there's a tendency with the Jurassic property that some of it's good, a lot of it's bad. So I think Fallen Kingdom being a disappointment didn't surprise anybody.
Oh, it surprised me. Like I said, I liked the first one.
I know, but like it didn't surprise me. Like it was entertaining.
Okay.
But looking at it critically, I was like, I mean, it's whatever. Like, you know, I kind of expected that. But the Grinch, like, that's a beloved property to a lot of people. Like my age and up, people who grew up with the Jim Carrey version. And so for it to just be okay, it kind of shits on your childhood. It kind of does. Yep. And I'm not going to go too in depth into it. I don't think Solo was a disappointment. Solo. I agree with you. It lives in an age of oversaturation, but it does a lot of things that are good, and it is honestly better second time viewing. Like it really, really is. It's kind of like, oh, that was a really
right. But wouldn't you agree that it's disappointing that it could have been better? Not just for you, but as a whole, as an anthology movie, it could have been as good as Rogue One, for instance.
Well, see, here's the thing. Solo is the only Star Wars movie that doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie. It feels like a Ron Howard movie.
Oh.
Because it's in the Star Wars universe, but it's not. Like even Last Jedi feels like a Star Wars movie because it's in this deep, rich universe. Obviously, Solo, it's got different actors, so on that end, it's different. But it's just a fun popcorn ride. Yeah. It's better than Jurassic World. I'll tell you that. It's way better than Jurassic World. And I know that's not saying a whole lot, but
okay. So Grinch. Is that our
Grinch is the most disappointing? Yes.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, honestly, I was totally okay with Jurassic World being the most disappointing, and I felt like we agreed on that. But I felt like I brought you to the dark side, and I'm like, Grinch sucks ass.
Your outpouring of it and kind of like was very encouraging.
Yeah, in a bad way.
A bad
such way. A bad influence. All right, so I'll mark it there. Yeah, we're pretty much done. And goddamn, it's went a lot longer. I honestly thought that because like movies just isn't our big forte, I thought this was going to be a lot smaller of an episode. So it's like I feel bad. I promised Zoe Ann she was going to be able to paint, and it's like it's looking like she's going to have to do it after we get home. So darn it. All right. That's all right. All right. So that is it. Let's do a real quick recap of everything. The best action of the year, according to TX3. Remember, this is all just our opinion. So if you don't like it, then get your own podcast. Oh,
get him.
Anyways, so our best action of the year is Avengers Infinity War. Best drama of the year was The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Now, in all honesty, if you have not seen it, but you are super into Red Dead Redemption, seriously, go see it. I mean, it's Netflix. If you're watching Netflix or you stole it from your mom, you might as well, right?
The first one's super weird. The rest of them are really, really, really good.
Yeah. Best comedy of the year was Game Night, but also super shout out to Sorry to Bother You. I mean, I'll say that.
Cockblockers was pretty funny.
Well, sure. Why not? I mean, over Cockblockers over Game Night, not really. So that's
no. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Animated / family. Huge shout out to Spider-Man. I'm gonna say it right now. If I would have seen it by the time we made this move or this, it probably would have won over Incredibles.
I leaned over to my wife the other day. I was like, "Does this look good?" And she was like, "Hell yeah, I want to see this." And I was like, "Yes, I love you. You're the love of my life."
Oh my god. So anyways, Incredibles 2 was the best animated / family. Best sci-fi fantasy was Annihilation. Another one where if you really like just sci-fi movies in general, you like Odyssey 2001 or you like Interstellar, things like that, I think you will definitely like Annihilation. It's a really good movie. Best actor or actress of the year was Lakeith Stanfield for Sorry to Bother You. Totally stand by that decision.
Supporting
and
Quiet Place Kids.
What?
I guess supporting would be the Quiet Place Kids.
Yeah, super big shout out to the Quiet Place Kids. Well, I mean, we didn't have two things, dude. So it was overall. But yes, super big shout out to them. Most disappointing movie of the year was Grinch, with a dishonorable mention to Jurassic World and Venom.
Wham, 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 wham.
So that is our movies of the year. Let us know what your favorite movie of the year, what your favorite action. Let us know what would your decision be for the categories. You can let us know down in the comments below or at TX3 Productions on Twitter or ThreadX3 Productions on Facebook. So thank you so much for joining us on this movie of the year ThreadX3 production. I was your host, Nick.
And I was a very sick Nate.
And
I'm dying.
You stay classy, San Diego.
Butt chugging.
Oh God, why?
Because it was a great moment.
It was all right. Stop it. Just stop it.
Stop it.
All right, I gotta save project. So there was something you wanted to talk to me about? I thought.
Was there?
I don't know. I thought you were like, oh yeah, I have to talk to you about that later or something. I don't remember what it was or what we were talking about when you said that.
I don't remember.
I put Morty instead of Moty.
Morty.
That
fucking hurts to do that.
Yeah, I wish I remembered what we were talking about when you said that, but yeah, I just remember you said, "Oh yeah, we need to talk about that."
I think maybe it may have been Solo. I don't remember. I don't remember.
Yeah, maybe it was. So I guess maybe you already did talk about it.
Yeah.
So never mind. So yeah, I'm a little short on time right now, but yeah, we do need to talk about what we're gonna